Hey guys, Kenny B here from Cities and Suburbs. Welcome aboard. Great show planned for you. We're coming to you live. Thank you to our friends for the non-copywritten music over at. I don't even want to say the call letters. I don't want to get sued. But anyway, not that they get much. But so tonight we are live and we are with the Peter K, the Kush man, and we're going to talk about some baseball, local and national, and then we're going to keep it local because there's so much stuff going on nationally that we need to take care of our own backyard, and that doesn't mean keep the lawn mowed and keep it manicured and things like that. We have big problems here in Worcester, and but we have some good things going on. Um, so coming up in November, we have the Worcester City Council elections. Oh, I can't wait. I want to be part of the 4% that actually goes out and votes.
It's sad. It's really sad how few people actually got, especially in prelim.
Exactly. So that is our good friend Peter K. So before we dive into the deep Worcester thing, Peter K. Where have you been this summer, and what is like some of the best locations that you? What have been some of the best locations that you visited for sports, food? You post a lot on Facebook. Just to let you guys know, Peter Kush, the Kush, is an umpire and basketball and but baseball, and so he travels a lot though, and that's actually your forte. I mean, you get educated in different cultures, particularly around sports. So, what has been one of the best places you've been this summer?
This year, one of the best places I've been is Chicago. I love Chicago. It's a great city. Lots of history. Great
Mm-hmm.
sports town. It's just a really kind of cool place to be. I was there actually a couple of summers ago, um, but over my winter trip, I was up in Chicago. I saw the Blackhawks, and we could still use that name, the Blackhawks. That's not taken away yet.
And just to let
Uh,
people know that's a hockey team.
that is a that is a yes, that is a hockey team.
Yes, yes.
um, yeah. Oh crap! Where did I go this past summer? I went to see. I was in Cleveland. I saw the Cleveland name redacted. I believe they're the Guardians now.
Mm-hmm.
That it was Cleveland's a dumpy city. But there's stuff to do. The first day we spent two nights at Erie. We saw the Double A affiliate for the Tigers, the Erie Seawolves. Then we moved along to Cleveland, and then on the last day we saw the Lake Erie Crushers, who put on a really good show. They're an indie team from Avon, Ohio.
Okay. So Cleveland has a I want to get this right, a triple A team.
No, Cleveland actually has still a major league
Oh, I
team.
know they have a major league team, but the Tigers, did you say the Tigers triple A?
I was in Erie for that. That
For
was the
Erie,
Erie
okay.
Seawolves, are the Double A affiliate, so they play in the same league as Portland.
Okay.
If you're a Red Sox fan, the Sea Dogs, that's their conference.
That little piece of Pennsylvania that they said, oh, please let us have access to water.
I will say one thing. I really did like swimming in Lake Erie. The whole like little waterfront area with the national wildlife sanctuary. It's beautiful. They have about 10 different beaches. When I went there, nine of the beaches were closed due to E. coli. So I snuck into the only beach that was available. But it's kind of like Worcester with water sometimes.
Did you ever see the movie Without a Paddle? And I'm sorry, the remake of Vacation.
Yeah.
When they thought they were taking a shortcut to some bath balls and was actually all contaminated, and So anyway, I hope that did you get a penicillin shot afterwards?
Fortunately, I didn't get sick, which was a which was a huge plus.
Well, I mean, and not to knock the Midwest states. I was just having a conversation with a guy over at Peabody Plumbing and Supply, and a lot of the product there, plumbing supply warehouse over in Auburn, and I noticed a lot of the boxes were coming from Cleveland, Ohio, and he said, "Oh, I didn't." And we started talking about manufacturing, and so we can talk about Cleveland and Erie and Gary, Indiana, and as we go along in that conversation, where our index finger and our thumb meet our nose, and it's these cities that you go to and check out, they're in recovery mode, no doubt about it. Some get it better than others, but they shouldn't be dumped on with the hold your nose, because 50, 70, 80, whatever, all the stuff that America got was from the manufacturing belt from Detroit, wrapped around Pittsburgh with your steel, up through Erie, Pennsylvania. It's good that, I mean, I drove through Gary, Indiana many years ago, and I wasn't impressed. There was this awful smell just from the highway, but you'd been there and said, things are a little better.
Yeah, it's funny, I've actually been to Gary twice in the past 3 years. I've also been to Toledo. Yeah, I think Gary, I had a lot of fun in Gary. I thought, definitely, there are definitely parts of Gary that are sketchy, and you definitely probably don't want to be in some parts of Gary when it gets dark. But honestly, they're doing what they can. I mean, you're talking about an entire economy that was based off Standard Steel,
right?
And when Standard Steel folded, it's like the whole city just kind of up and. I mean, you see the same thing in Flint, Michigan, with General Motors. I mean, you had an entire economy based off of one company.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's when we talk about. Sorry, but when we talk a little bit about Worcester, I think that was the advantage Worcester had was first of all, the abundance of different body types of water, the ability to create like Institute Pond for companies and things like that. But some of these other, the Midwest states, Detroit, I mean, there was some spin-off, of course. You're making cars, so this Flint made this for the car companies and the auto companies and things like that. But yeah, it's hard to recover when you just make cars and then you don't make cars anymore.
Yeah, I know, it's definitely, and like even places like Toledo. I mean, Toledo did a really good job. When you're in the downtown, I mean, there's kind of like three parts to Toledo. You have the downtown area, with the restaurants and the stadiums, the baseball stadium, hockey arena, that's a beautiful area. And then, you put a circle around that, and it's, a lot of abandoned stuff, buildings that are kind of run down.
Yeah.
But then once you get out of it, going towards like the University of Toledo, it's just it's all suburbs. It's all like kind of those cliche Midwest suburbs. Nice single family houses all laid out. So I think Toledo's another one that, I go to Toledo quite a bit. I've been there four times in the last 5 years.
Wow.
And it's, I always have a good time in Toledo, and like you said, seeing these places that a lot of people kind of shit on and talk down to, when you get there and you actually get in there, whether it be like Pennsylvania or Ohio, they're interesting, or even upstate New York. I'm in upstate New York like every other week.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely there are parts that are run down, but every part of those cities has a gem or something that's just interesting to see or do. And it's kind of like, I wish people would experience it more before they just crap on it, because
exactly
there are always fun things to do in most of these places.
Exactly right. There's a history behind where you are being judgmental from. So, but let me ask you, when you were in Toledo, did you find any of the places that were holy?
No, but they do have. You go everywhere. They always have either a Jeep reference or a Max Klinger He's still very big there.
Who's so Max Klinger for people like me who don't know?
It's Max Klinger was a character for MASH.
Oh, is that where he was from?
Yeah, the actor is actually from Toledo.
Okay.
He's from Toledo, Jamie Farr. He grew up in Toledo, and he still has a very kind of close connection with the city. He actually, I think, threw at the first pitch at a Mudheads game, maybe a year or two ago. I know he's in his 90s now, so I don't know how much he's going out there and throwing out first pitches. But I think it was 3 or 4 years ago he threw out the first pitch at a Mudheads game. So he's still very much connected with the city.
Was he wearing a pink dress? For people who don't know, Max,
he got his discharge. The Vietnam War is over. Oh, sorry, Korean War.
No, he was in Korea. Yeah, so
but he was in Korea. But I think most people got the reference that MASH was set in Korea, but there were very strong indications that it was about Vietnam.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. But for people who don't know, that's, I didn't know Jamie Farr. That was his. I was not a big MASH guy. I thought,
really?
No, I don't know. For something, I don't know. I mean, I grew up in the land of cheesy, Hawaii Five-0, and there was some good ones. I'm a man. I always loved Columbo and all that, but there was some really, MASH as a sitcom. Hot Lips, Houlihan, and and my pop was a Korea guy. That's where his draft number came up. Whereas his older brothers fought in World War II in Germany and things like that. But I don't know. I just never got. I liked Hogan's Heroes better.
that was a good show too. I loved MASH. It's funny though, because I didn't really get into MASH until I got older. I didn't really watch it. I didn't watch the reruns growing up, but right around college, I kind of got into MASH and just loved the series. It was such a great series.
Yeah, you start to understand, that what it's about, and it's like someday people will say, Ken, you'll love the Grateful Dead someday. You'll totally understand it. And I'm still waiting at 62
Now, be careful what you say about the Dead, because I do love the Dead. So
I'm just saying, at 62 years old, I'm still ready. I'm still waiting for it to wash over me.
It's one of the best. It's one of the best. Just driving around listening to, bands. You can just put it on, and they just phase. So albums just phase so seamlessly between each other. And it's just
man. I totally get it. Did I blow through that stop sign? But you know something? There's nothing that's more exciting, captivating, hallucinating than the Worcester City Council meetings. That, thank God, they took 5 weeks off during the summer. I know they took 5 weeks off, but we know they're like, a football or a baseball team. They're working out every day at the gym. They're pounding out those agendas, and they're coming back strong. Right?
Right. Right, exactly.
As a team of one, ready to accomplish the dirty deeds of what Worcester needs. Right? Anyway, so that's we'll segue there, but that's really cool. I'm glad you. I see your book. You're traveling a lot, so I'm envious, because way back when I was much younger, I jump in my car, I drive 100 miles. I wouldn't even think much of it, just to see what that town looked like.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It's like I was listening to Billy Joel's Allentown came on as I was going to work today. And I was like, "Oh, they play this in the 7th inning stretch at Iron Pigs games," and I'm like, it's kind of a depressing song for a 7th inning stretch song, but still a great song.
That was I forget that album, but that was Allentown. I think when I saw him in '88 or '89, I forget what tour it was, um, but the Iron Pigs, they are a minor league team to.
Philadelphia.
Okay, what and oh, they're in Scranton? Oh no.
No, that's the Rail Riders. The the Iron Pigs are Lehigh Valley, so
Okay,
they're the affiliate for the Phillies. They're the AAA affiliate for the Phillies.
good ballpark.
A beautiful ballpark. Yeah, lots. Not much to do around. Allentown's kind of like a big sprawling city. It's kind of like Worcester, where it's very spread out.
Yeah, yeah.
But so there are pockets of, there's definitely a downtown, and there's definitely stuff to do. But around the ballpark, the ballpark is kind of where it's at.
Oh, that's cool. So bringing it back home. Um, so this year, I mean, the Red Sox saw the Worcester Red Sox, um, which I was hearing, are we going to finish in the red? Are we going to finish in the black? There was a lot of controversy around the construction. I think the contractors that were supposed to build the buildings in the left field wall, which are going up now, but through your travels, I don't know, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 to 5, 5 being tops, 1 being right? Could have been cooked more. Where does I went to a job there at Polar Park, and I'm very impressed with the way they keep the facility. Of course, it's only 5 years old. There's always a draw there. Whenever I drive by, people are walking to the games, you know. But and I know you it's hard because I like the fact that you don't hold Worcester special just because you're from the area or whatever. But where do you see Polar Park um, in terms of entertainment value, beauty, all that stuff? Where on a scale of 1 to 5, where do you see it compared to what you've seen?
So I think it's kind of it's up. I mean, it's definitely in the top echelon. I would say that a lot of, especially again, once you start hitting those like upstate, like in Syracuse. A lot of I think you have to see when the stadium was actually built. I mean, a lot of those stadiums were built in, the 90s and early to early mid 2000s. And
Mhm.
those stadiums all kind of have kind of the same feel to them, especially in the AA ballparks.
Yeah.
Like if you go up to Manchester, Manch Vegas, Viva Manch Vegas. A lot of those stadiums
Yeah.
kind of look the same. Syracuse is kind of like a bigger, it's kind of that standard old big AAA stadium, where the amenities are kind of like not really a secondary thing. I do think they put a lot of. I think there's a lot of things they did right with Polar Park. I think there's a lot of things they could have done better with Polar Park.
Mhm.
The big one is, it's they have kind of two general concession stands, and they have kind of specialty stands, which are great. But if you go when there's a decent crowd, you end up, and especially with the pitch clock now, you miss so much of the game.
Right, right,
You
yeah.
miss so much of the game because you're stuck in line,
Wow.
which at least
But that's what happens at like Fenway too, though, right?
yeah. Well,
I mean,
don't get me started on Fenway.
no,
Um,
no, no, no. Uh,
Fenway, Fenway,
hold on. We don't
Fenway.
want to have the conversation like we had this afternoon with someone.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say this. I'll just say this. I think Fenway is a very historic park. I think Fenway Park served its purpose. I think even the New York Yankees, who, while they were playing at Old Yankee Stadium, had more success than the Red Sox had when they played at Fenway Park. I think that at least New York had the wherewithal to know when it was time to
Yeah,
kind of throw in the
no doubt.
towel on the stadium. I
But
think
they
that
also had 27 World Series titles where they said to the fans, we can do whatever the F we want, and they'll follow us wherever we go. As long as we build that stadium and it looks the same way, then that's great. But we're not going to change our approach to how we attract and overpay players because that's what our crowd wants us to do. So not only did they just it's just brick and mortar. So they made it look like the old stadium, but they never changed, and they didn't have to. The Yankees
No,
didn't have to. They got 27 world titles, for God's sakes, right? So um, even though they were all against the Brooklyn Dodgers, I'm only kidding, but
yeah.
they
But like I
had
was
that
saying,
luxury.
but like I was saying, I don't want to because I don't want to reignite Yankees Red Sox
Oh no,
kind of
no, no,
hate.
no! I
But
got you.
I think Polo Park does a lot right. But I think that there's definitely things they could have done better. I think I think as you walk around the stadium, the fact you have to go upstairs to do a full circle. I think they probably should have found something a little bit better than that. It's kind of a nuisance. I think some of the angles are a little rough. And of course, we talked about this way back when. I think on the first show we did together, where we talked about kind of baseball stadiums as a whole. The original markups for the building, it was supposed to be similar to Camden Yards, which honestly, between us, I think Camden Yards is beautiful, a little overrated, but beautiful. But it was supposed to have kind of that brick facade, and in order to save money, because money's huge, John Henry and Company, they cut the project cheap and did that kind of corrugated metal that kind of makes it look like a shipping container from the outside. So, I mean, I think my opinion might be a little bit different if it was because I mean, from the out, it is a hideous stadium from the outside. When you're in it, it's well done. It's comfortable. The concourse are nice and wide, which is always plus. I've been to so many stadiums, especially major league stadiums, where you're just like bumping into people because the corridors are so darn tight.
Yeah.
But I think they did a lot of things well. I wish they followed through with their original promise to have the brick facade and stuff like that. But overall, I put that as one of the kind of the top third as far as stadiums go. Minor league.
Yeah, no, but you know how it goes with contractors, right?
Yeah.
It never and money, and even if you're a new homeowner, you go, oh, we wanted this, but really, well, the guy says, well, this is we could change this. You'd save a few bucks here and there, and you go with it, right? So, which is maybe I hope they save that money because um, I don't know what I'm hearing about whether the season isn't quite over yet, but how did Polo Park actually finish this year? And it's in its fifth year. All right. I happened to be there last Friday for a job fair held by Mass Hire. And for the people in California who are listening to us who are saying, wow, what's Mass Hire? First of all, it'd be great if you were in California listening to me and Mr. K. But for us locals, we know what that means. And it's a beautiful park, on the inside and on the outside. You go by it, you don't think too much about as a spectator, and you don't think too much about it was supposed to be like this, now it's like this. You go by it looks it's if you think about what was there before compared to now, right? So I guess you have to, for me as an ancient Worcester guy, I look at what was there, which was Wyman and Gordon, and now look at what you got. So
well, don't forget way back when. I don't know if you remember. Oh, you do remember. I know you remember because you're a history junkie like myself, especially for Worcester and Central Mass. But that was the original site they were going to put the slot tower on when we had that referendum on slot parlors and casinos in Massachusetts got approved for the one casino and two slot parlors. That was originally supposed to be this, or that was supposed to be the site. Sorry, two casinos, three slot parlors.
Right. So we gave that to our junkie stepsister down the road, 50 miles to Springfield.
Well, Springfield actually laid out the right carpet. They got the full-on casino. This was supposed to be Worcester was projected to be a slot parlor, which would have been similar to kind of what you have at the racetrack in Pine Ridge right now, where there are there's no table games. It's all just slots. And, there's a lot of concern when the campaign was going that it was just like, At least you're struggling enough as it is with people in their incomes, and now you're gonna make it easier for people to be degenerate gamblers. And yeah, so I do like the ballpark better there than the slot parlor, but there are nice, especially like when I'm flipping through Facebook and I come up to like an old like picture of me at McCoy Stadium, because the memories of McCoy Stadium for me are like, I used to go with my dad all the time. This is before I could drive, so he had to pick the destinations. We used to go all the time, and then as I got older, my buddies and I would go to Paw Sox games, and there was something that was nice about McCoy. It was cheap. The parking was free. The concessions were cheap. The game was cheap. It was just a big old kind of hulking stadium, similar to Syracuse.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the prettiest car in the world, but it would sure as heck get you from point A to point B, and you'd have a good time there.
Yeah.
And there are times I look back and I'm like, I miss it. I miss the little 30-minute jaunt down to Pawtucket. I miss the walk from the. I mean, that's just part of my nostalgia kicking in.
Yeah, and I mean, no, it's popular because I heard AC/DC went to McCoy because they said that, they could get dirty deeds there done dirt cheap. So, that didn't work so well. Sorry, folks.
You tried.
I dropped an anvil on my head. But yeah, so anyway, so I appreciate the insight, but so when does the minor league season end?
So double A, the lower levels are already pretty much done. The double A ends this week. They wrap up and they have their playoffs. Triple A goes closer to the MLB season, just because if a player gets hurt or something, they want to give them an opportunity to rehab or something. So Triple A season goes another couple of weeks, and then that'll wrap up, and then they'll have their playoffs, and they're usually done a couple of weeks before the MLB season heads into their playoffs.
So where do you see now, switching it real quick over to, and that was a great, that was a great summertime field trip report from you, Pete.
Yeah.
And if I guess word to the wise, man, if you can get out and travel, do so. Baseball is so historic. It's in every corner, particularly in the Midwest, and that what you do is kind of expose those teams that kind of take us away from looking at the billion-dollar players, right? Which we're going to see over the next month or 6 weeks, or what are we in September? So we get the playoffs. So we get another 8 weeks, and probably until the end of November, we'll have a World Series.
The season keeps going later and later, and the MLB season is too long. The MLB postseason's gotten a little bit long, but playoffs baseball is still a great watch.
It is.
It really does come down to pitching, and the managers start to play more of a role.
Yeah.
But there is, again, minor leagues. The minor leagues always give you a better chance to kind of touch the players and see the players up close. Things that you don't get to see. When I went to the Mets game, what was that, 4 weeks ago? It cost just about, just over $100-something a ticket to sit on third base line. One ticket for a Mets game would have paid for everybody's seat at a Rebel Ponies game, and you still had money left over to grab a couple of beers for folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you told me about the steak and cheese.
It's the cost of a major league game, especially like when a team is good, is just so astronomically high right now. It really is crazy to see that people still pay those. I mean, I didn't even get a beer at Fenway Park. I looked at it and I'm like, I don't want a beer enough to pay $15 for a beer. That's crazy to me. It's just not fun. It's fun to get a couple of beers, get a little buzz on, But if you're paying $15 a shoot, it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, no, and right, and you can get, I guess, I mean, I guess it's the same way with the NFL, where that's why they have tailgating, the legal way of getting all tanked up on booze before you actually get into the game, and then you don't need one if you can remember the game, right?
Yep.
So where do you see the MLB going? I mean, the Red Sox. I mean, now I was talking the other day, and maybe it was with you, but now being 15 games over 500 makes you a candidate for a World Series, and I'm like, and I get where MLB is going, and they max. I'm actually listening that they may even shorten the schedule, which they probably should, but if you get, but then you should do it for hockey, for God's sakes, too. But
well, the reason I don't think the reason I don't think they'll ever shorten the season for baseball is because the one sport where records matter is baseball. I mean, hockey records matter, but they're not as sacred as baseball records. And every time they talk about tinkering with the schedule, the questions always come up like, well, then the records. Are the records real? Do the records reflect the sport anymore? And I would hate to see the baseball schedule shortened. I don't feel like it has to. I think if anything, to make the baseball season better, they need to look at. And I know this is going the opposite direction of baseball wants to do, because they want to expand. I think they should look at retraction for some markets. I just think some markets are just not viable anymore, and I think that there is a point where the talent pool dries up. And honestly, with ownership groups, and I forgot what I was watching, but now it's like owners don't really care about championships anymore. And I think that at first when I heard that, I forgot what show I was watching. When I first heard that, I was like, well, that's crazy. What do you mean you don't care about championships? And then you hear about like the finances, and it's like these guys don't care about championships. It's just another option in their portfolio, which makes money for them. And there's no clearer evidence than the way the Red Sox run over the past couple of years, the way that the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have one of the most beautiful stadiums in Major League Baseball, absolute gem. And Bob Nutting just keeps putting out these awful products because at the end of the day, people are going to go to PNC Park. Right. People are going to go pay to go to PNC Park, and he's going to make money regardless. And now that you have revenue sharing, it takes pressure off of ownership groups to actually go to the playoffs. Because back in the day, you wanted to go to the playoffs because the playoffs put asses in seats. You got the revenue from that. You got season ticket sales for the next year if you were a playoff team, and I think that we need to go back to. I don't know how you do it. I know some people limit government, but I think you look at it like you can't own. You can't own more than one professional sports team. You can't.
I get that.
You can't get funding.
I agree.
I think honestly they have to cut federal funding and state funding and municipal funding across the board for stadiums because it's ridiculous. Like we're hitting at a point where Chicago White Sox. This is the second time in my lifetime the Chicago White Sox have threatened to leave Chicago if they don't get a new stadium. I mean,
you're only 15.
No, I remember when they were, and that is actually one of the reasons why the most famous obstacle in Major League Baseball, the catwalks in Tampa Bay, are a thing. It's because because Tampa Bay was angling for a expansion team, and the White Sox said they were unhappy and they were looking to leave, and Chicago leveraged Tampa Bay, and so Tampa Bay, in order to get Tropicana Field ready for the following season, they built it quicker by building it at an angle. So the roof to Tropicana Field is actually at a 45-degree angle. So that's why you have the catwalks that are in play. But again, this is the second time. I'm 39. I'll be 40 next year. This is the second time in 40 years that a marquee team, like a historic team. They're not very good now, but a historic team, the White Sox, have threatened to leave Chicago if they don't get a new stadium. And it's like, why are we paying for this?
And
Why
how
do the
much? How
taxpayers
much?
pay for a playground for billionaires?
Right. And how much would given the dispersion of major populations, and even in Chicago, and that's why California always sucks at sports, because they have too many baseball teams. I mean, and I get the density per square mile of people. It's like 4,000 people per square inch in California, and oh, I get why the New York had three baseball teams, because that's just the way it was, the concentration of population. But Chicago, if the White Sox left Chicago, would people really cry? I mean, when's the last time Chicago was, you know, first of all, Chicago as a city would be like the Yankees, because Chicago has always tried to um, do one up on New York, right?
Right.
From pizza to this to that, um, but so but the people in Chicago love the Cubbies, you know.
They do.
I mean, I get the South Side against the North Side, I get that, but baseball is big business now. You can't keep a product around. First of all, it doesn't produce. They won the World Series in 2005, right?
Yep.
That was it. They've been competitive, win 90 games here and there over the last 20 years or whatever, but there's nothing going on with the White Sox. Same as Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's owned by that guy. Does he make salad
Bob
dressing
Nutting.
or something, or Chipotle, or
No, it's Bob Nutting. Bob Nutting owns them.
so what does Bob Notting do?
He's probably a hedge fund investor because most of them are.
Okay, well there you go. That'll always land you a great, particularly in like Pittsburgh. What's it, 300,000 people? You know, small market team. You know, um, so going back to it now, if we look at the teams in the NL and the AL, I mean, I definitely think obviously Detroit has the AL Central. Okay, Toronto, there's no way that anybody's going to catch Toronto. All right, even if it's just 2.5, that just shows you how inconsistent the Red Sox and the Yankees are. And even when Toronto's playing in the last 10, they're doing 5-5. The Yankees and the Yankees are streaky. They've always been streaky. We've always known too that does not win them World Series, right?
Right.
Houston, Seattle, American League West is up for grabs. Definitely Detroit has got the Central. So your division, I think, winners in the AL, Toronto, Detroit, obviously. Houston, I think if Seattle would have caught Houston's going to really have to stub its toe. And then I think obviously in the National League, which if a team does not win the World Series out of the National League, that'd be pathetic. You got the Phillies, they're definitely going to take the East. You've got the friggin' Milwaukee Brewers running away with it, but it doesn't friggin' matter if you win 90 games. The Cubs cooled off there 6 weeks ago, but now they're chasing. They cut that 11-game gap down to, I don't know what it is now, but they're not going to catch Milwaukee for the Central. And then the Dodgers and the Dodgers and the Padres are just going back and forth, bitch slapping each other. And unfortunately for the Padres, they just don't have any balls.
Yeah, exactly.
But that said, the teams I mentioned, you're going to get your 3 division winners, and all those wild card guys, will come in, and Cubs will definitely make a a playoff appearance, and that's what the Red Sox are doing. Let's just win 75 games. What
Yeah,
about the crap, man?
I don't think you're going to catch the Blue Jays. I think that the
No
Red
way.
Sox and Yankees just aren't good enough to put together a long win streak, because it seems like they get close and then they lose a couple, and then the couple they lose, the Blue Jays win. And it seems like the Blue Jays for the past month and a half have basically been able to keep them at that 3 to 6 game arm's length. And I don't see either the Yankees or the Red Sox sweeping. I think the Red Sox have one more series against Toronto. I think the Yankees might be done against Toronto. I don't see the Red Sox sweeping the Blue Jays at Skydome. So
no, I don't either.
I think,
the Red Sox tomorrow night. The Yankees are at Fenway for, I don't know if it's 3 or 4, but I guess it just makes it a little bit more fun to watch, knowing that your team has a chance, even though they're really not that good. And I hope there's no. I mean, Milwaukee, 1983, I think they won the World Series. In the AL. I'd love to see Milwaukee do something. So I don't know, Peter. I just don't know which way to go here. Where would you put your money?
I think the players can be good. I think it's, especially on the AL side, it's wide open. I think the Tigers and the Blue Jays are 2 teams to beat in the American League. But even then, I think they're both beatable. I mean, the Tigers just went on a horrendous losing streak, and now they're turning it around. But they went on a pretty bad losing streak for a while, and now they're kind of catching up. And the Blue Jays have come back down to earth. But the Blue Jays have also played better competition in the past month, and so their schedule will get easier. They'll get Baltimore. I think they have Oakland one more time. So their schedule will get easier too. And then if they put on like a 6 or 7 game winning streak, the division's pretty much over. So
So, all right. Well, my friend, we still have some things to cover, and we may have to do another segment. Are you up to that?
I am, sir.
Can you commit to that?
I committed.
Because we have the prelims with the Worcester City Council, and of course Mayor Petty actually earned the most votes, 5,994 votes, unofficial tallies, of course, but still tonight I'm gratified. So I have.
That's not much of a surprise. I mean, he's been a sitting mayor for so long. It's also a preliminary election,
right?
Which, again, I mean, I get why they have prelims. They don't want like wide open fields in a general election, but the amount of money it costs to put on a preliminary election, and especially this preliminary election, because the only thing they did was they basically got rid of two council at large candidates who had no realistic, feasible chance of winning, and one, district school committee race, which everybody knew who was it going to be. Right. So it's like you basically eliminated 2 people who had a snowball's chance of hell of winning, and you had a district school committee candidate who didn't have a reasonable chance to win. And I get it. I know. I get you don't want to have 50 people running for 12 seats, but I do think they need to look at changing that, because it costs so much money to whittle the field down from 14 to 12 and from 3 to 2. It just seems unnecessary.
Yeah. So we have 3 councilors, I believe, that aren't running. After a long, Piccolo there, Jenny Piccolo over there on the west side, she did one and done. And so that opens up that seat. That's a district. George Russell, right? He is not running. And Councilor Nguyen, where have they been, right, for the last 8 months, are not running. And I'm going to have to look through this a bit more. But, I don't, the way Worcester, I watch the city council meetings, man, and I'm like, how is this? I mean, first of all, there's so much development going on in Worcester, and there's not really a lot of things that are going wrong. I mean, in terms of Polar Park is the city entered into a private business contract or whatever, but there's a lot of still employment growth and companies coming into Worcester that we really don't hear about. And
Right.
if you go to the Worcester Chamber website, you'll see that what was there before, what's there now, and I'd rather see that than turn into Southbridge, Athol, all these withered towns that there's. But Worcester still has its challenges too. We still have the Worcester Auditorium that is sitting there under the leadership and guidance of Jake Sanders, to do something with that building that opened in 1935, whatever. I mean, there's so much. And then you see Lincoln Square, the housing, the old Volk School, and development going on. But then when I watch the city council meetings, I'm like, you guys aren't talking about this stuff at all.
No, and it's funny you bring up the auditorium because I've said this for years. I mean, the auditorium's in relatively good shape, but it's not what it should be. And Lowell has an auditorium, a war memorial auditorium that was built the same year, and they have concerts in it. It's
Right.
active. It's being used. I mean, it's just the city.
But they don't have the
city has mismanaged these projects forever.
Right, but and that's great for Lowell. Lowell's about 70,000 people. Okay, they don't have a convention center. They don't have the Hanover Theater. They do not have Mechanics Hall. So it's great that you could say, like Clinton, the Strand Theater closed. Oh my God, it's going to reopen. Well, there's no other competition. I mean, it's what the people want, So in Lowell, and I think the same thing. Man, I wish our auditorium was as functional as the one in Lowell. But I'm like, how realistic is that? When Worcester chose to become a big boy city back when in the 80s when they built the Centrum, and we started attracting all these acts, and that was also time based. That's when a lot of acts in the 70s were sick of not having a second place to play, traveling costs for these big rock bands, and they needed and we could stop in Worcester and get just as many friggin' people as we do when we go to the Garden, which is
Right.
so friggin' hard to play at. It's an old place, and so as far as Worcester Auditorium, it has a different challenge than it does in a city that's a third of its size. I mean, that's the way I see it. But it's still sad. I graduated out of there in 1981. And that's what it had become: graduation, proms. But at least the outside's not falling apart. We have to do something with it, though.
Exactly.
So what would you do if you were mayor? What would you do?
Well, I think you gotta figure out what. I mean, honestly, look at some collaborations with I know the city has a rocky relationship, but look at getting a relationship with one of the colleges. See if you can work something out. I mean, the Tsongas Center in Lowell was falling apart. It needed a lot. It needed a lot of work. The city just didn't have the money for it, so they went to the University of Lowell and basically sold it for $1, with the agreement that they would put $2 million worth of renovations into the arena, and it's a very nice arena.
Yeah, they got
they have the events there, and it's great. But I think the city would need to look at, I mean, they do have the little theater which is attached to it. You could partner up with the city, and the auditorium doesn't have to be open 24 hours. It's like the Hanover Theater. I mean, if you look at the Hanover Theater, they don't have productions there all the time. They're a lot of the productions they have are second runs out of, or third runs out of the major markets. There's nothing saying you can't have a couple of events every year. just to get some use out of it. I mean,
Right.
it's
Right. And
and I
that's
know
where you need
it's going to cost some
funding.
money for some capital improvements, but it doesn't mean don't do it. I mean, it's a beautiful building. There's good history there, but again, it's just something the city just seems to have left to rot.
Look, I think that if they gutted it and left the facade, right, and turned it into a really cool looking parking garage from the outside, and when you pull in, there's all these lifts that park your car. I'm kidding, but there's no parking around there, you know, so that's why not just turn it into a really nice looking parking garage from the outside, and but we'll only park Ferraris and Mercedes Benz and I'm reaching here, but I mean, if they develop it, there's how do people get there? There's no place
Right.
to, whatever they. So Worcester is definitely in a vice grip with this one. So let's do this, my friend. I've got a lot of material left to cover, and we should before the November elections dive a little deeper into, you know, who is going to be, you know, those folks that are going to be charged with Worcester's future, which is the city council.
Yep.
We can do that. So, any parting words?
No, I think honestly, I think we're turning over our seasons. Baseball season's ending. I think
Yeah,
it's crazy to it's crazy that my windows have now. It's been a hot summer.
I know.
It's finally starting to cool off a little bit and look and feel good outside. Enjoy it. The fall is a special time too. Now we're getting into basketball season. We're getting into hockey season.
I can't wait for hockey.
About
I'm looking forward to the hockey season, man. Hey, Pete, when does hockey start?
So hockey starts in just October. So in less than about 30 days.
30 days. Okay.
I'm gonna make a plug for one of my favorite teams to go see. I already got my tickets planned. There's an independent hockey league team called the Binghamton Black Bears. They play in the Federal Prospect Hockey League. I love them. I follow them. I watch all the games for free on YouTube. I already got my trip planned. I'll be out there the first week of November.
That's awesome, dude.
So
yeah, that's awesome, man. That's why we like listening to you, my friend. You take us to places.
College football season. I'm going down to Delaware tomorrow. So you won't see me at work tomorrow because I'm driving down to Delaware tomorrow for the game on Saturday. They're playing UConn.
Oh, no kidding. Awesome, dude. Well, enjoy it, man.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we're gonna start here. Peter K, the Kush
Kenny
man.
Louie. Thank you, Radio Land. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time, Pete. Awesome. Hey guys, thanks for joining in. Kenny B here, Cities and Suburbs, and we are signing out. We were live with the K Man, Peter Kush. Hope you guys enjoyed. Take care. We'll see you next time.